Try it one more time. This is interesting. Fingers crossed. What is happening, YouTube? Um, Alright, so I'm going to check this out over on the YouTube New Pragmatic channel to see how this is showing up. It looks like it's... Yeah, okay, so it actually is showing up fine on the actual YouTube channel. Just the preview is so weird, YouTube. The preview... you know what? I'll share my screen with you folks so you can see it real quick. So this is why I'm freaking out. Now, it's not really showing up like this on YouTube, but if you're, and the CouchBot hasn't fired yet, so nobody's here yet, but that sort of weird window of my forehead, it's like it's showing this area of my, or no, this area, whatever. But it's really bizarre. Let's go ahead and transition back. I'll clip all that stuff out. But I started and restarted a couple of times now, trying to debug that issue, and it, you know, according to the rest of YouTube, it's not an issue. So that's good. And the other good news is it looks like YouTube has pinged ye old CouchBot. So we're ready to go, and we've got a lot of stuff to do today. I've got a lot of notes here that I want to get through for Kara and Bryn and Ruby. So let's go ahead and get this underway. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. And then, of course, my face gets itchy. Let's try that again. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here again, New Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop. So good to have you back. We've got Kara, Bryn, and Ruby in here today. And I saw a lot of chatter yesterday in like the YouTube chat room. And I just want to tip you off that we're always monitoring the discussion going on in Discord. So if you're wanting to get access to the New Pragmatic Discord channel, go over to newpragmatic.com, click Access the Community, and you'll be able to get signed up right there. That's where all the students get feedback on their work. That's where everybody submits their work, and we're always monitoring Discord. So just in case you're wondering why I'm not responding to you on whatever streaming platform you may be on, all of the conversations always going through the Discord channel. So that said, we've got a busy morning this morning, and you know, so much of this is about finishing touches. To be honest with you, as I look through all the work, that's the common theme. It's like, okay, so what's the tweak that I can make to make sure that this gets across the line in the best way possible? So let's go. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can dive into this. And then of course somebody calls right in the middle of that. I accidentally clicked the wrong button, so I'm gonna I'm gonna start that over again. Yeah, that was very bizarre. Let's go one more time, and this time I'm gonna turn Do Not Disturb on my phone so I don't get somebody calling me in my headphones. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney again. Gosh, man, I'm really having a weird day. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here. New Pragmatics. Time for the feedback loop. Stumbling and bumbling out of the gate. We've had weird phone calls. We've had YouTube display errors. I've tripped over my own feet here. But we've got Kara, Bryn, and Ruby here. And I've got a lot of feedback. Most of the work here is really good. Just needs finishing touches. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get this underway. All right, so there's my forehead again. We will not be paying any attention to that. We're actually going to come over here to Fresh Market. And in Fresh Market, so here we are with Kara's Fresh Market project. And with this, she has gone through and done a boatload of user testing. And you know, the real key, regardless of how advanced you are with your design skills, the real key, the real way you know how your project is progressing, is to get it in front of real people, to get it in front of, frankly, somebody other than yourself, somebody other than maybe your mentor, your client. Like, get it out there with real people so you can get their feedback, and that's what Kara's been doing. And a few interesting things have come up. Obviously, one, Kara, like you mentioned it over and over again, language. Like when you would ask them, how would you view the recipes, or how would you view the meals? Sometimes it's difficult to determine how to get over here. You know, what does menu mean? Now, you and I both know that menus means the menu of items that you can view, but that you can order from. But it seems like that was a point of contention with your users, and or with your testers, and that's one of the things where, you know, if you utilized meals, maybe meals would be an easier way to get to that. I also want to check and make sure we're still streaming. I'm getting some weird pop-ups here from Discord. Yeah, well, it looks like we're still live, so I'm not going to worry about that. Back down here. So language really matters. Maybe instead of menus, this should be meals. You know, and that's a very common thing. You find out that what was really clear to you wasn't necessarily clear to somebody else. There was also a discussion on. I want to say that there was a discussion on. Let's go here and view recipe. I'm not seeing the. I guess it's probably I've got to actually go through the login process. And by the way, I really do like this project overall. But if we come in, and I need to get back to menus, I need a deselected one. So you had some people bring up that the yellow was too light, and I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that in all of these instances, if you were to flip it to where, upon, you know, you've got to click it to get to the green anyway. But if you started out with the darker yellow, or the higher opacity yellow, then or saturated yellow, then I think that would probably solve that issue. But right now, it's really, you know, it's hard to see the plus that's inside of there unless you roll over it, and you can't anticipate that they're actually going to roll over it. You know, I saw something where you were over on your home page. I'm going to log out so we can make our way back to that. And by the way, I will say this: the way that you can weave in and out of your prototype, that bodes very well for somebody being able to successfully navigate it. So I think overall this is pretty strong. Although I would make sure, like, you don't have any things like this, first name, last name. You want this to seem like it's a real site, not just a prototype. And this is for when you're putting things in front of a user for the first time. Language versus icons was something that came up. So if we go back to menus, and we're looking through here, again, I think that's actually, if we go through and sign up, I would also change this from input. It would probably be like name, first name, last name, email address, give them a sample email address, password, um, 8 characters minimum. Like you can do a lot with that, but there you go. So here we're in the account details. Let's go ahead and take a look at menus. So here we're in the menu. I'm signed in, or I should be signed in. Maybe there's a hole. Did we just trip down a rabbit hole there? Let's go back here. Interesting. So if I sign up, and again, I would like to fix the input thing. Yeah, it puts me here, and I'm not sure. Like, do I have to complete this to actually get to the menus? Looks like it. Okay. So that's something I would consider, like, once you have signed up. Like I could loop back and finish the recipes, but you've got to assume that, like, oh, I want to look at the recipes. I don't want to like take more time to fill out like my address information and whatnot. So keep that in mind. Let's go back to menus. So here we are. This is interesting because we're back here on menus. I go to Fresh Market, and I'm back in sign up. I'm not quite sure how I keep ending up in sign up. There appears to be like a loophole that I'm falling down. And again, with the input, if I say same as delivery address, I would expect these all to fill in as well. Let's go ahead and save that. I'm still in sign up, so they're like it's not making the leap there. Maybe this is a navigation issue. Is it because I haven't done this part yet? Save. Okay. So, the question I have here is, should these options even be available? Because immediately I keep wanting to go into these other places. And I feel like now I'm interrogating the prototype again. So I want to like refrain myself from doing that because you've already been through testing. I do think that overall, all I was really trying to get to was, if we go here to menus, was the presence of, and now I'm back in sign up. How do I keep finding myself back in sign up? That's very frustrating. So I'm just going to log in. Okay, now we're back here. People were saying that, so here, I saw people saying that they didn't know what the plus was meant to do. So add meal, like add meal next to it, add meal plus. I think that's probably where, again, language and icons are coming into play. This UI sequence thing here that says you can skip you need to skip this week. The fact that it gives you the language at the top. If you do not select any meals by February 1st, this week will be skipped. Why would I need to skip a week? So to skip a week, all I have to do is not select any meals. Seems like you've solved the UI dilemma just in the function, the way the app functions. So that's good. A good point from the users that, hey, maybe you could simplify this. Maybe that's not even a thing. Maybe you don't need to skip. Maybe you don't need that interface element. I always find it interesting when I'm going through a home page. I'll log out so we can go back in. And you say, can you take me to the menus or can you take me to the meal page or the menus or the recipes or whatever it is? It's right there. And they go, yeah, right there. Right. Like they it's so interesting because half of your users will use the nav, the other half will not. That does not mean that you eliminate one or the other. In some cases, like navigation, you should have pathways in that operate in a couple of different ways. It is interesting to watch them work, though. It's one of the things that is always entertaining for me is to say, hey, you know what? I've put the prompt right here on the top. But then again, there's also that a language thing? Am I using the wrong word in the interface? I wouldn't necessarily try to I wouldn't call out, can you take me to the menu page? I wouldn't call it out directly because I don't want to steer them toward a specific pathway. I want to see how does their head work? How do they find their way? So I think you had a lot of really good useful feedback from your users. A lot of things centered around language, but overall, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think it's a very strong design. I will say that this is one of those situations. I'm going to be talking about it soon, where as we go through maintaining scroll position. If I click here, I don't want it to start back at the top. And this is one of the things I was literally looking for an example of this for a presentation that I have coming up tonight. And when you click on something, it's still doing this bounce. So maintain scroll position. That's going to be very helpful. But you and I have talked about that maintain scroll position for like months. So here it is again. It's just should be one of those. And I really wish it would that Figma just by default would do that, and then you would have to unselect it to not maintain scroll position. That would be so much better. Not that they're going to listen to me, but they might listen to you. Let's go ahead and hop over here to Bryn. And final note on Kara's Fresh Market. So much of the feedback that you get, I want to make sure that you're pulling it through the filter of what's reasonable for somebody to say. Everybody will want things for free. They'll want it cheaper. They will want it yesterday. Some things are there is user-centered and there's business-centered and then there's fair. I would always come to fair. I don't want to abuse the business or the user or the environment. I want to be fair. And if you're just remember that the market sets the tone. If you hear everybody saying something is unreasonable, and I'm talking specifically about pricing or number of meals or any of that. If somebody says something is unreasonable, that's one person saying it. If everybody is saying that it's unreasonable, then it is maybe in fact unreasonable, because the marketplace gets to decide that. But keep that in mind when you hear like some language like, "Oh well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to give you my password." Okay, that's fine. Maybe I'm making an unreasonable ask, but if everybody is saying that, and it's always about value exchange. Okay, in product design, we're always trying to find I'm trying to find the line to where I give you enough value that you will give me something in return. If I'm not giving them value, I shouldn't expect to get anything in return. But if I am providing value, I should be able to make a request. And I think that, there was an instance where they didn't want to give a password or whatever. And I think that you were providing that exchange of value and they were just being unreasonable. So keep that in mind. You don't have to immediately go, oh gosh, I got to change it all, because you don't. Okay? All right. Off to Bryn. Bryn, I checked this out. You've got your Calendly set up. No, we're not having Design and Donuts Saturday morning. Sorry, snowstorm, and pandemic. But I'm over here. I like the lead in here. I do recognize that you're taking 45 minutes, and you're saying it's only 30 minutes. But I think that's just truth in advertising. Yes, it should be around 30 minutes, but I'm taking 45 minutes just in case. So I think that's smart. I do like the fact that you limited the number of dates possible. You've also clearly time boxed yourself so that you are not so that you're not in a situation where you've got like, meetings until 9 o'clock at night. That's good. And then, as far as your meal subscriber interview notes go, the only thing that I saw that was missing from this, because I do like the fact that you set this up and you're like, hey, we're gonna go to one of these sites. Okay, so you've got one of those sites that you wanna hit, and then you've got your control as Blue Apron, and your control is like the thing that everybody's gonna go through. It's like a baseline. So you've already identified, like, okay, we're going to go do this thing, might go a bunch of different directions, and then we're going to go do Blue Apron because I want to compare and see how they navigate through this. That's very smart. The only other thing I would add here is that when you're going through this introduction, you've got one piece that everybody always forgets. Hey, can I record this? I'm not gonna share it out. It's just for me and my note taking. But the other thing that I think you've got, it might be here, the purpose of goal, description of study. Remind them that you're not testing them. Okay, the pressure is not on you as a user. I'm really I'm going to benefit a lot from seeing how you utilize this product. You're just you. And I don't want to influence how you go about doing this, but don't feel like there's not a wrong way to do this. Just as long as you're being, don't sandbag it. Don't play like you've never seen the site before. Like, come in and just show me how you would do these things to the best of your ability, and that's all I really ask of you. But making sure that they realize they are not being tested is kind of the key. All right, and then finally, we're over here on Ruby's. Oh, hey, Ruby's in here. Hi, Ruby. How you doing? We're over here on Ruby's presentation, and somebody had a question the other day, like, hey, gosh, I thought presentations were supposed to be 3 minutes long. Context, folks. When you are going through a presentation, there are instances where, hey, you've got 3 minutes to be in front of somebody, and I do specifically point that out. Like, if you're presenting to stakeholders and you're presenting on like a suggested direction for the organization, or here are the latest numbers, like whatever it is, like I want it to be as a compact, get all the top information in the first minute, and off you go. This is a different type of presentation. So when you are going in for an interview, the interview should follow some of that dynamic. And Ruby and I, when we were prepping for this yesterday, we talked about, what are the top 3 things, like, if you left this presentation, what should you remember about me as the person that was interviewing? And coming up with those goals of, I want to choreograph to them, or I want to impress upon them that I am a very collaborative person to work with. I want to impress upon them that I value X. I value the design process. I value the ability to break things down. Like, that can, having a goal for what you're wanting to get across to the person sitting in the chair across the room, that's very important. These are also intended for like round table sort of situations. I do not advise taking your portfolio and just scrolling vertically through your portfolio when you're meeting, particularly in a group setting. I do prefer to have a presentation of the work ready to go. Now, people will ask, well, shouldn't I just have a presentation, period? It's like, yeah, no. I expect the presentation to be a distilled version of what I would find in your portfolio, okay? But what I would expect to find in your portfolio is something more robust, something that doesn't require you to be around. This is the same thing. This does not, this basic, well, this basically requires the presenter to be there, but you can hand this across to somebody who knows you're coming for their review. I do like the way that you've kind of set up the projects that you're going to cover. You show that there's a lot of work that we could be talking about. You also allow yourself the ability to dive in deeper. So if they say, hey, you know what? I want to know more about those flexible tables. I see you've got some sketches there. Let's focus our attention there. Then, that's where I would have in the back of my head, okay, so flexible tables is right here, and you can move along. This is another thing I like about having key slides that have like a color that's easy for me to see from the sidebar. So as I'm going through, this is meet participate. This one is flexible tables. I'm gonna guess the next time I see that color, I'm gonna be on wine notes. And nope, I missed it by a bit. There's wine notes. So this is where I would probably come back. I would pull up that color and make sure that I'm using it on wine notes, because I like just blew right past wine notes. It was not easy for me to scroll down and see where it was. Again, you may know your presentation a little better than I do, because I didn't put this together, but I would use that as a way to hook these all together. I'm going to focus mostly on wine notes because we've seen the other ones before. I do like the fact that you've put in some labels here. I think the labeling helps me figure out what's happening here. Sorry, I'm saying a lot this morning. Change it to now. So research, flows. Okay, so this is great. You're kind of giving me a sense that you can set down with a random person, and it's very weird. It's almost vintage. Like, wow, you didn't do this recently. I see people without masks. I see people sitting in relatively close spaces. I would come in and just clean up some of the spacing here. It's just kind of disjointed. But I also know that like you were just like, I gotta get this stuff in and putting it together. Refinement. So this is giving me a sense of, it's kind of moving a few different directions. Branding. So the thing I like about this is I'm going from sketch to lo-fi to branding. So it's kind of showing me in quick succession how this is coming together. It makes it seem like, wow, you just snapped your fingers and it came together. So lessons and learnings. I might just make this more conversational. What I learned. Learnings is such a weird phrase anyway. But overall, I'll do a deeper dive. 67% adopted groups. Interesting. So this was the groups sprint. Okay. My concern here is I think I've got a 67% down here as well, like tables today. So that number is now, and I know I pound the table like we've got to go with we've got to go with the metric, but it seems like now we're talking about the same thing twice, so be careful of that. Even if this is a slightly different spin on it, I think I would like tweak this so that number, because I'm remembering that metric is key. I think you should lead with it here. And sometimes, a lot of times when you work at the same company, like these projects will weave back into themselves, so I get that. But look out for overlap points where it's like it triggers people and go, hey, do you really only have one project? Because I don't think that's the case here. You're talking about something similar, something that may have been used somewhere else. But I would look out for that. And otherwise, I think you're in a very good spot. I think there's a few adjustments to make here. I want to make it really easy for you to scan and jump down in the event they want to bounce around. So I would definitely make sure that these, I think it's right there. Yeah, there it is. I want to make sure that these lead slides are somewhere in a style that's easy for you to work through and find, and I would go from there. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it. I've got meetings coming up. We've got a big Figma meetup tonight, Friends of Figma. I think it's sold out, so I don't want to promote that. If you I've mentioned it before, so if you signed up already, that's great. If not, there will be a recording after the fact, so just know that you can check that out. It's going to be a packed house, so I'm very excited. Always good to meet with the fine folks there in DC. We're going to be talking about prototyping and animations and all sorts of fun stuff to bring your prototypes to life. But without further ado, I'm Chris Courtney. This has been the Feedback Loop. And if you got any value out of this video today, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you're looking for mentorship, like what I do for the rest of the students here, consider what they have to say about being part of the new Pragmatic program. Take care, everybody.